Set was the Egyptian god of darkness, chaos, and evil. Set was thought of as evil because once before he had been the main god in the Egyptian pantheon. Anciently, when Set was the serpent cobra god ruler of the world, he was obviously not thought of as an evil god. For one cannot worship an evil deity. One can only worship what one thinks of as a deity of good, even if it's only for the good of oneself or a small select group of the initiated. The deity must at least be good for the initiated, or what they see as their good.
This is a Hydra depiction of Set from the Marvel Comics version of Conan the Barbarian. A Cretan goddess of darkness was also a serpentess of the grain fields. The Hellene, Persephone was a dark chthonic goddess of death, rebirth, and the wheat harvest. A Roman statue of Isis, from Naples, shows her in the dark robes of the Eleusinian goddesses.
Therefore, the perception of Set must have been once very different from what it later became. It was when the solar theology of Heliopolis became prominent throughout Egypt that the perception of Set started to change for the worse. The new solar pantheon had no place for the ruler of the old lunar pantheon. And this is what Set was, at least for some indefinite period.
A Book of the Dead illustration shows the scribe Ani being led by Horus. This new kingdom royal pectoral has the goddess Hathor flanked by both Horus and Set. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote upon the division of Greek civilization into its Dionysian, lunar, and Apollonian, solar, qualities.
It is impossible now, I think, to determine exactly how long the Egyptians worshipped Set as the Lord of the gods. For I'm not speaking of the brief later reign of the Hyksos, when his worship was revived by these foreign rulers, but instead speaking of a much earlier epoch when Set replaced his father Osiris as the most important deity.
The Nama palette of the pre-dynastic epoch displays the very ancient affinity between the horned god and the serpentine in Egypt. The archaeology of Marihagambujas describes the primordial worship of the bird goddess and the snake goddess in Neolithic Europe.
That Osiris was the father of Set once, at a much earlier stage of Egyptian religion, can still be garnered from examining the myths and artifacts. The worship of Osiris in the ancient lunar theology of Egypt is the oldest stratum of Egyptian religion still possible of discernment. The worship of Osiris, the horned god of the hunt, was first in the old tribal ways of religion.
The horned god of the hunt is the deity that we have inherited from the Stone Age. Osiris was the horned god of Egypt. Anubis and Horus are here, standing behind him.
The mate of Osiris was always Isis, the serpent cobra, goddess of death and life. Previous to the advent of solarism, Isis was the mother of Set, and Horus, the later god of the sun, was earlier, during the ways of old, merely the son of Nephthys, the vulture goddess, also a goddess of death and life. Isis and Nephthys were always sisters, as in the new theology, but previous to solarism, they were sisters of a different mother.
The head ornament of Nephthys is like the open egg of first creation. The sacred creature of Nephthys was originally, most probably, the Egyptian vulture. Goddess Nekhbet is shown here standing upon an opened egg. This is a Stone Age Egyptian statuette of a bird goddess. Isis and Nephthys hail the creator god, Khepera, in his form as a sacred scarab beetle.
The priest of the sun later said that the Ennead was the offspring of Nuit, the goddess of the primeval night sky. This was said so that Hathor, the most ancient mother goddess of earth, could be reduced in importance. Hathor was, in the lunar theology, the mother of the gods. Osiris, the horn god, was her son, and Isis, the cobra goddess, and Nephthys, the vulture goddess, were her daughters. This, then, was the arrangement of the pantheon in its most ancient form under the theology of darkness.
The Ogdoad pantheon depicted the gods as frogs and the goddesses as serpents. A painting of the goddess Nuit, the night sky, in her cowl form. Another painting of Nuit as the night sky. The goddess Hathor, sitting behind her son, of later myth, Horus, the elder,